So yes, we have a full day of people from across the country sharing their own stories and experiences with a guaranteed income. And we would like to set the course for the day with a very special pilot dispatch from San Francisco. Poet Kevin Dublin is a guaranteed income recipient and a pilot focused specifically on artists. And he's here to open our day with some of his work and a few words of inspiration on how money has transformed his life and has allowed him to thrive more in his artistic practice. Help me welcome Kevin to the stage.
How's everybody feeling? All right.
Ditto. Next.
This is love stories in a style of attempted murder. Whenever I listen to Tupac, I remember the hearts of men who I want to stop beating. Not from gunshot or stab wounds to the gut enough to steep a whole room's carpet red, nor from the ripple of nuclear explosion or strangulation. I want these hearts of enemies to stop beating like distant sparrow song, which ends because they've lost a scrap and lost a nest. My father meets my mother because he fails nearly as many grades as he passes, because his mother laughs when he asks to attend kindergarten at 8 and sends him back into fields with his uncle and his cousins. A peanut butter sandwich-filled stomach and large hands don't need to learn math. A decade later, my mother, nearly 15 and still singing Clyde McPhatter's Lover's Question, on another side of my grandmama's fence, is called over by a boy just about her age who asks, "Do you like my big brother?" She nods and knows not the knots to come. Tied in marriage to my father for 35 years and 9 kids throughout, knocked across the head early times in anger, stomach in anguish, wondering not whether they'll make it, but how God gave her strength to withstand it and withstand his cheating when all she does is love, cook, clean, read, shop, sew, mend, play Pacino, raise children, and pray. He loves her. He changes and loves her with all his heart and every excuse until the night she dies, the only night I see my father cry like it's an art. When he loses her, all he does is smoke, gamble, and worry they are apart. It's true, I find my soulmate in the most expensive city in the country, but only after I stop searching because I no longer believe it's possible between sips of bourbon and ginger and the ring left by a rocks glass on a bar because I offer a napkin to a woman in red lipstick who has filled her own napkin with prose. Babe born into abundance and care, she cares and carries. A nose filled with witchcraft, a nose I could love. Love is the seed of revolutions, and violence can be a kind of love. Tupac Shakur knew that on a Halloween evening in 1993 when he saw 2 off-duty white police officers drunk and harassing a black man on the streets of Atlanta. After asking what the cops were doing, then feeling the heat of a bullet through a window, he exited and dropped to one knee, shot one officer in the abdomen and another in a butt cheek, ready to murder. I've yet to learn how to kill a man with a poem, but I know I was raised in a Black Baptist church a mile from a tree my great uncle was lynched in, and I loved Tupac in 1993, almost as much as I admire leaves when seasons change. I swear it with all the bass my voice can muster, and I swear I know the weight of taking the Lord's name in vain. But I don't care if you're a goddamn Democrat or a goddamn Republican, if you don't believe that a radical redistribution of wealth and power, and you don't care about the liberation of all people, and even if I love you, you are an enemy, and you carry a heart I want to stop beating. So glad to be here. Laugh. To be in such amazing company. So at last year's Basic Income March, I said, I talked about like a federal guaranteed income being inevitable. And, just as, Natalie was just saying, like it's coming. And we have to believe that, it's not radical. That, just like Michael, Mayor Tubbs just said, like, it's radical that we, and ridiculous that we have, that poverty exists and is continuing to when there's so much abundance. I still believe that. And I also believe that this inevitability is really only a starting point. There's so many other things that need to happen. And it's a starting point for the revolution that we need. And so what we're doing here today, tomorrow, anytime we talk about guaranteed income in especially in the United States, we're plotting a revolution. And a revolution is, this forcible overthrow of a social order which is embedded with economic disparity. This is by design. It's all about the favor where we need to move towards that more equitable system. And we have to remember that. We have to remember that revolutionaries have enemies. And there are people who have a vested interest in the social order not changing. Those who want to continue to exploit the system that was designed for the benefit of wealthy and the detriment of the poor. Those who believe that they're just and righteously upholding the social order and may or may not realize that in supporting that social order, what they're really expressing is a desire to maintain or expand their own choices and limit the choices of others. Because what I've learned as a recipient of guaranteed income and a pilot is that to live is to make choices. We make thousands each day. We come into a world through a network of other people's choices. We leave the world through a network of other people's choices alongside our own. And we have an economic system that is designed to limit the range of an individual's choices, right? And so we've seen the impact all over the country from the numerous pilots that exist, of how the pilots impact individuals, families, entire communities. And we know at a quantitative level, we know at a qualitative level, the benefits that democratizing choice brings. And we've seen it in San Francisco, Yerba Buena Center for the Arts, and that's only just one of the pilots. So, but with YBCA, 130 artists were able to make choices at crucial times during the height of the pandemic, kept dance studios open, productions running, helped single parents sustain families, while being able to create art that comforts others, that provides, culture and paid opportunities for other artists. And it continues now, because there's another initiative that has 60 other artists who are able to support more community members and create art and create content that helps others think about gender, sexuality, race, class, and more. For the original 130 artists, the pilot ends next month, with the final payments going out next week. I think about how transformational it's been for me, material and immaterial. How I began the living room reading series in Salon, which is inspired by one of my favorite Rumi poems, The Guest House. Check it out. It's amazing. This being human is a guest house. And it brings people together for intimate poetry performances on a theme and open discussion about questions that affect Bay Area residents or the world at large. We have themes from resources to homeland to, capitalism is coming up in November. Tricks is coming up in October. And we highlight community partners who uplift vulnerable populations, and we spotlight, help raise awareness, and solicit donations of funds or time for their cause. And I've been able to pay writers and connect them to paid opportunities, and now begin the process of applying for fiscal sponsorship for it, so that I can apply for more grants and expand the series and move into other, kind of avenues to build up community and writers and writing incubators, because it's something that, you don't, while yes, definitely have gone through and done that whole like, MFA graduate education thing. A writer doesn't have to be that. A writer can be, a community culture bearer who's going out, who's uplifting, other people and can pay for it and can live and can sustain themselves and can sustain their families and can and really get what they deserve for, what doing for the larger community. But as it's something that it's affected me even outside of that. I've been able to afford having my son live with me full time. I've traveled to visit family. I've traced genealogy. I made a lot of choices. And as the pilot closes, I've decided that I'm not going to give up those choices that I've been afforded during that time. And not only am I going to find the means to like create and sustain those opportunities that I've been placed in a position to give, but to fight for others to be in that position as well. And that's really, it's like, the pilot, it really became an activation, because this is something that, it's one thing to read about, something. It's one thing to believe like, oh, this could be, I intellectually believe in this. And to have this sense of, I don't want to say pessimism, but it's another to experience it and say this can be reality. And so something I tell my writing students all the time is that I don't know where we begin, but I know that we end on the earth as the stories that others tell about us. It's like a catfish coming from the ice in winter for a bite of night crawler bait and turn into a meal. The stories that I want to leave behind are the stories of a successful revolution. So let's do it.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kevin.